Hi, friends. I just got dropped off here by Grover Cleveland's presidential time machine. Don't ask. It has been a long journey I've been on since my Venture Brothers video, but while I am stuck in whatever century this is, I figured we'd talk about one of my favorite genres, science fiction. More than just lasers and little green men, it's a playground for those big and strange and sometimes terrifying ideas. What if the world changed, or what if we changed? This is a video where we are diving into what sci-fi really means, how it works, and why it matters to us, or to me anyway, more than ever.
Danger! Sci-Fi World. Chain reactions of sci-fi's greatest hits.
So, what is science fiction or sci fi? At its core, it's a storytelling genre, one rooted in, well, science.
Yeah, Mr. White. Yes, science.
More often than not, tackling more speculative advancements in science. Think of it as the what if genre. What if the world changed through technology or a catastrophe, through discovery or a stranger visiting the planet?
Oh, this is fantastic! A carbon-based life form come to rescue me at last!
Science fiction builds its stories around these speculative ideas, things like futuristic tech, new societies, and scientific breakthroughs. The key word here is always speculative. It's not about what exists, but what could exist. These stories usually try to challenge how we think about ourselves, the future, our reality. They give us a new lens to look through, one shaped a little more by possibility and imagination.
Open your mind.
The elements we usually see most in sci fi are things like space and time travel, artificial intelligence and robots, dystopias and alternate dimensions, but those definitely do not define the genre. They are like tools. Time Bandits does fantasy time travel beautifully, and D&D and their realm system plays with the multiverse more than Marvel, who do this weird thing I love by blending science fiction and fantasy.
Hold on. See, someone do this once. All right, so imagine there are multiple versions of Earth. One where the Nazis won World War II, one where Kennedy was never assassinated.
Oh yeah, one where all of us are evil.
Been there, it sucks.
Those are two genres that are constantly being grouped together, tackling a lot of the same themes, built on very different foundations. Where sci fi is rooted in science and more real perspective, fantasy thrives in the supernatural, delving into myth and magic. Where science fiction usually asks, what could happen if this were possible? Fantasy broadly asks, what happens in a world where anything is? With, some limitations depending on your magic system of choice.
You shall not pass!
It is all about rules, if that makes sense. Science fiction tends to follow a stricter logic, even if it is stretched to its absolute limit.
I could explain to you all what it is, but I think the best way for you to understand is if you just try it yourself.
While fantasy runs on the power of imagination, a legally distinct laser sword will get an entire backstory, complete with a scientific explanation. In the fantasy, that same sword came to life with a magic spell. Maybe an enchantment. One genre looks forwards and backwards and all around looking for an explanation. The other tends to embrace the unknown a little bit more. That being said, the line definitely blurs. Star Wars, pre-midichlorians anyway, brilliantly juggles the two, tossing up spaceships and robots in one hand, wizardry and prophecy in the other. The Marvel Cinematic Universe does a lot of this as well the more we bring in magic and fantasy characters.
What is this guy's problem, Mr. Stark? He's from space. He came here to steal a necklace from a wizard.
So it is not as much about strict definitions as much as it is about tone and intent right now. Sci-fi wants to make the incredible seem possible, while fantasy tries to make the impossible feel real. And do not get me wrong, I've talked about a lot of science fiction that seems to be all about the future. Flying cars and distant planets with robot uprisings, but more often than not, even these stories are trying to tell us something about present, using the setting of the future to talk about things that are happening now.
I'm sorry. My friend and I have to go perform some mindless, repetitive tasks.
Hopes and fears, pregnancy and abortion. It might be about the direction we are heading. Setting things in the future just gives the audience some distance, if that makes sense. It is a genre that asks bigger questions in ways that might be safe. We can get around censorship by having Godzilla attack instead of dropping bombs on screen. We can bring up the anxieties of sexual assault in an alien movie. Science fiction lets us explore these concepts without directly pointing fingers. Whether it is a dystopia warning us about climate change or an AI wrestling with identity, sci-fi is so rarely about prediction and more about reflection. Reflection through exaggeration, almost.
Here the pedestrian will be king, free to walk and browse without fear of motorized vehicles. Only electric-powered vehicles will travel above the streets of Epcot's Central City.
Science fiction can explore these ideas that are big, sometimes too big, or maybe they're just too strange, too far ahead of other genres. It is as much a genre as it is a sandbox for testing futures and technologies. Where other genres reflect what is, science fiction again imagines what could be. It's a freedom with unique limitations that are weirdly powerful. Science fiction takes these abstract fears like losing humanity to machines or destroying the planet and transforms them into something literal. It can ask moral questions about things like cloning or consciousness without those being tangible-ish, letting us stretch those boundaries.
If you really believe that, then you should clone yourself.
So I can understand your unique perspective?
No. So you can go fuck yourself.
It lets us explore identity in radically different ways, who we are when every little familiar thing is stripped away.
Can a robot write a symphony? Can a robot turn a canvas into a beautiful masterpiece?
Can you?
You can question gender and race, disability. Hell, you can question reality itself. Through different alien perspectives, science fiction makes room for those conversations by reframing them in odder contexts. And it helps us see things with way fresher eyes.
No more!
Because science fiction is a genre that thrives on themes, big and small. One of the most common being fear of the unknown, whether it be alien invaders, the void of space, or technology that grows beyond our control.
This deal is getting worse all the time.
It is this fear that most often connects with the big man versus conflicts you cover in literature classes. Conflict that isn't just flashy, but a little more philosophical more often than not, probing what it means to be in a world that is always
What we're
evolving.
attempting it's not possible. Listen, if there's one thing the history of evolution has taught us, it's that life will not be contained. Life breaks free, it expands to new territories, and it crashes through barriers painfully, maybe even dangerously, but
evolving into things like utopias or a dystopia. These imagined futures show us society when it's taken to the extreme ends of perfection and corruption.
Do not, my friends, become addicted to water. It will take hold of you, and you will resent its absence.
In utopias, we see things taking hold. The potential of what could be achieved if humanity were to get things right, technically. Flipping the coin in dystopias, our failings set the center stage. Broken systems, the ruined environments, the oppressive regimes, aka a bad time. Either way, we are exaggerating these worlds to highlight what we might be heading towards. And this isn't a speculation video, but I don't love the future we're heading for at the time of recording.
What?
You gonna wash your hands?
No, 'cause I'm evil.
Or you could look at the more internal themes like identity and isolation, or even memory. Stories that ask what makes you, you.
I mean, can't you take away everything but the part where I had sex?
It doesn't work like that. It just shaves away your last memory patterns. You can't select what you want to save, just how far back you want to forget. Sorry, Tiger.
Maybe I can live with sleeping with my dad's old girlfriend and...
If you upload your mind or clone your body, are you still the same person? This is a genre that loves to play with altered minds, enhanced bodies, and states of being. So much of science fiction loves to deal with so many unknowns, space, and time, and consciousness. These heady themes just become a recurring mood by default, especially in stories where characters are cut off from their world and others. What I love about the genre so much is that it sees through these gaps in understanding and asks the questions anyway.
Let science fiction age take you on starships to strange alien civilizations, thrust you into galactic robot wars, and even take you back in time to the Earth's prehistoric past.
What is crazy is that it doesn't just ask questions about the future, but it has helped build them. Over the years, it's inspired countless inventors and scientists and engineers to chase ideas that once lived in pulp novels and space operas. If you look, you can see the fingerprints just about everywhere.
Welcome to Planet Vinci.
Arthur C. Clarke envisioned geostationary satellites long before the first were launched, and Neil Stephenson shaped the concept of the metaverse with stories like Snow Crash decades before tech giants cashed in. Everyone will point at the flip phone as a dead ringer for Star Trek's communicators, not to mention tablets, real-time translators, voice assistants. It's a long list.
Computer, load Mariner program all new to Olympic training facility. You might want to back up a bit.
Wow, this is a very detailed program.
I mean, we live in a day and age where we can genetically modify extinct animals to make some kind of approximation. Oh, and hey, we are using the tech to generate buzz and profit, just like in Jurassic Park.
No, I'm simply saying that life finds a way.
Not that Colossal isn't also doing crazy good and beneficial stuff with this tech, by the way. And it's not just gadgets, it's about the framework to imagine the future. Science fiction has fundamentally shaped how we think about AI and ethics. It has introduced us to climate engineering and transhumanism. It gives us the sandbox where we can explore both the risks and rewards of these ideas before taking steps into the real world.
Kevin, this is Scott. Kevin, this is Scott. Do you hear me? Over and out.
The Star Trek communicators with push-to-talk button.
Scott, this is Kevin. My bike is broken. Can you help me? Over. Yes, but send me a signal so I can find you.
Star Trek communicators with a range of 1,300 feet. Push button, twin warp sound, uses 1 9-volt battery, not included.
With all the crazy advancements in science fiction, it's natural to ask what kind of universe would you actually want to live in? It's a question that every sci-fi and fantasy fan runs into sooner or later, and for me, it's never been that hard of a choice, really.
Choose your next words with exceptional care.
When I go through every science fiction universe I can think of between books, movies, games, and comics, then start narrowing it down, the first to go are always universes where planets get blown up on the regular.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force.
And that knocks out most major comic universes, unfortunately. And I don't say this lightly as a very deep Star Wars fan, but Star Wars, thanks to its love of Death Stars, and most cyberpunk and post-apocalypses where the Earth is barely hanging on, are just out. Because fiction loves chaos, this list gets short really fast. In the end, it always comes down to the universes of Star Trek or Valerian and Lorelei. Both are full of wonder and weird shit, with plenty to keep a person engaged and entertained.
Anyway, let's move on to somebody even more important. Perhaps the most important person in Starfleet history, Chief Miles O'Brien.
But only Star Trek actually gives you real career options and universal healthcare, so yeah, beam me up.
If you're looking for the perfect interplanetary getaway this season, look no further than this exclusive offer to the planet of Tatooine. Staying at the spaceport of Mos Eisley, this week-long trip costs from just 5,000 Republican Dactaris. Tatooine, the perfect place for the trip of a lifetime, but please do be aware of local customs. Our human-cyborg relations droids are online constantly to take your call.
Because for me, science fiction is kind of like a compass. Not one that points north, but one that spins wildly and wildly until you ask the right questions of it. It's a genre that challenges the boundaries of the things that are possible. Yes, more than that, it's about why we push those boundaries.
Push me, please. Harder, please.
It dares us to imagine futures that might be better, or at the very least, futures we might actually survive. Sci-fi is a weird mirror I hold up to the world when nothing else makes sense. It's where impossible things can be talked about seriously, and where serious things can be disguised as space operas. It's where philosophy meets the cold vacuum of space, and where explosions also just happen in the cold vacuum of space. Where morality gets tested by cloning dilemmas, or alien contact, or what counts as real in the digital age. It is all about that and so much more.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
And maybe it means something different to everyone. It can be an escape, or a warning, or a dream, or even a blueprint. But for me, it's a genre that refuses to sit still. It's the genre that changes with us, grows with us, and sometimes gets a little ahead of us. But that is also kind of the point of it all.
Willie, it's obvious that we don't share the same tailor. I mean, what do you call that thing there?
I call it my way, Francis.
Touché.
Right on.
But we do share the same feeling about space technology, don't we?
That's right. It's led to a lot of things that have helped all of us, city dudes and country cousins alike.
Okay, but it looks like Grover Cleveland's presidential time machine is booting up again. Guess it is time to jump. Could be a distant planet, a dystopian future, might even be one of our favorite superhero universes. Who knows? But next video is going to be a follow-up to this one, where I am going over 5 out of this world science fiction movies you may have missed. Then just 5 of my personal favorites for funsies. That is coming in 2 weeks' time. Until then, keep asking what if. Keep imagining the impossible, and as always, travel strange, my friends. Upcoming episodes on Superman in July, the MCU Phase 2, August, Disney's Package Era, September, Frankenstein in October, Godzilla's Heisei Era, November.